All right, welcome in. It's Wednesday, hump day, Rob Vino. It's time for full court press. Rob has already complimented me on my attire, so let's start there. How'd the night go last night? Well, for me, 1-0. I had one play. It was a 5%er, and it won easily. Poor Virginia Tech, Rob. They cannot catch a break at the end of a basketball game. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just go look at how they've lost games this year. I think they've been beat now at the buzzer 3 times. And then last night, they had a chance to win at the buzzer. It rolled off the rim. Some might say there was a foul that should have been called. Yours truly was happy that there wasn't a foul called because, of course, that would have resulted in a guaranteed split of those free throws and then me having to sweat 8.5 in overtime. So we're happy that didn't happen. Sorry for VT, I suppose, but we got the money at plus 8.5. Rob Bino, how was your night last night?
Yeah, it was not the best, Adam. It was a 2-3 night, slight give back off of the 3-0 on Monday. And I kicked myself. Well, I don't know if I can kick myself, Adam, because of the swiftness of the line movement. The deal breaker was the NC State team total over. And early morning, it was 80.5, 81.5. And I was sitting there waiting on the Henri Vassar news. And I probably waited too long because then Vassar got ruled out for sure. Moved to 82.5. I went ahead and played it. Or excuse me, I played it before he was officially ruled out. It moved up to 82.5. So it looked like the inclination was he's going to be out. Played at 82.5. He does get ruled out. Total crashes. NC State team total crashes all the way to 80.5 by game time, and they score 82. So if I had gone 30 minutes sooner or waited 30 minutes longer, I'd have been on the good side of the number. Instead, I was caught right in that trap where I was on the hook side of the number, and that made the difference in the night. But still a pretty good handicap in my estimation because NC State did roll. North Carolina got away with what they got away with on Saturday against Pitt. Couldn't get away with it against NC State after Will Wade called them out. And by the way, I don't want to get too far off topic. We got a lot of games to go here. But the Mick Cronin thing, I mean, did the world just wake up and realize that Mick Cronin is a grouchy old coach for the last 20 years? And everybody's on Mick Cronin today. You could have been on him since 2006 at Cincinnati.
I joked on Twitter. I was like, it felt like WWF Jonathan Coachman having to interview like one of the heels after losing a match and he just got like shoved into a locker. Like it was a reasonable question. But anyway, before I'll get the promo done now before we get into the show. The what have you done for me lately crowd I did see was out on Twitter last night. All I have to say is Rob carried the double the firepower package for like the first 2 months of the season. So if you're new here, I'm hot right now. I'm just trying to return the favor. Because I mean, I'm still looking up at you on the leaderboard. So I'm just happy to be able to sort of bounce back. Because when I was losing in November and December, you were just red hot. And I think you're still probably near the very top of the leaderboard, college basketball. So that's what we hope to bring you enough winning angles. Like again, last night, if you're on the package, 2-3 plus a 5% winner, you still probably came out ahead. Monday, we went a combined 6-0. So you've got the double the firepower CBB package. The girls at WagerTalk home office who do the customer support said, if you email in and ask, so right now we both have a discounted rest of year package up on our page. If you email in, say something nice. You don't have to say something nice, but you should because they're the hardest working people in the business. Rob, we've got people asking for timestamps while the show is going on. So I can't imagine what these animals are asking our customer support team, but they're the best in the business. Tell them you want both of us rest of the season, and they will give you what I hear is a pretty substantial discount on full season CBB the rest of the way. So we'll get right into it now. That's enough promo. We've got people filing in. I was able to tweet this out to to Twitter, since they don't put it up automatic anymore. So let's get into it. Feature game today that I chose, out west, 9 p.m., one of two matchups, ranked team versus ranked team. But Rob Bino, one of these teams might not be ranked very much longer. And that might be the BYU Cougars, who, man, I don't want to say their season is over because like they're still a capable basketball team. They're still likely they're still going to go to the NCAA tournament, but this team can't seem to catch a break. The schedule has been insane. They seem to catch every team like off of a loss. They seem to catch every team when they're in a spot where the other team is in a spot where they're probably going to win. That's, of course, Arizona after they finally have a couple losses. Now you go into this game without Richie Saunders. I think that's probably baked into the number here at this point. But talk to me a little bit about, like, do the odds makers, have they been able to quantify the Saunders loss into the number side or total? Because that's going to be tough to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, well, the number is big, right? 12 and a half. But let's just start by saying this. I've talked often on this show about believing that BYU is just limited, very limited depth wise. You give me their starting five, I'll take them to any court, neutral, away, home, and we'll play. May not win them all, but you're going to be competitive with the elite teams in the nation if you have BYU starting five. It's the bench that's been a problem. There's not a lot of quality depth on this team. And now you take away probably the most experienced player that they have on the squad in Richie Saunders. Certainly, in my estimation, the best long distance shooter that they have on this team in Richie Saunders. And when you take experience in shooting away from a team at that level, at the level that Saunders is at, you got issues. There's no question, Adam. These minutes that the starters have had to play throughout this rugged schedule, like you just mentioned, they're adding up now in late February as we head toward late February. And I do worry about BYU down the road. To tell you the truth, these minutes aren't going to ease up on the four guys that remain starters. Somebody's got to carry the load. Somebody's got to pick up the 15 or so points that Richie Saunders scores per game. And AJ DeBensta's fine. He's going to be a top 5 draft pick. But when you're the target of every opposing defense every night, as we head into this portion of the season, which is crunch time, everybody's looking to win now. It's going to be difficult for BYU. Maybe they can get through it on emotion for a game or two. But come Big 12 conference tournament time, come NCAA tournament time, you're going to hear a lot of ballyhoo about DeBansta and BYU, and it's just not going to be there anymore because the Saunders injury to me is that key. 12 and a half here, you're catching Arizona in a situation that you don't want to catch them in, like you just mentioned. Well, you don't want to play them now off of a pair of losses. So 12 and a half looks big, but Arizona's got the capability to get to 90. BYU's defense, as we just saw the other day, gave up 93 again. It's not the best. BYU may get murdered on the boards here too, Adam. I got to say, this is going to be a tough matchup. While the number looks big, I would still think you have to play Arizona in this instance. BYU, if you're looking at direction, maybe I can't even say get in and get out with the first half because Arizona should come out on their home court breathing fire tonight from the opening tip. For me, it would be Arizona in this case. I think they can win it by 15 plus. Total's risen all the way to 164 and a half. Just going to get a good quick check of the current team totals here. 88 and a half and 76 and a half. I tell you what, BYU at 76 and a half. Let's not play it, but let's give that a pretty good monitoring tonight to see how much they can score without Saunders against a defense like this, because it could be that we can make some money on BYU team totals to the under down the stretch here, and vice versa. We can probably make money betting against the BYU defense, fading that defense down the stretch, because like I said, the workload on the four main guys is just, it's insane to begin with, and it's just going to get that much increased without Richie Saunders.
Oh, I want to stay on the topic of Saunders because I feel like that is basically the handicap here. I actually think the books, odds makers, did a surprisingly good job of pricing this game. I actually thought that there would be an in to this game from a number standpoint, because obviously taking Saunders out is probably more drastic than people would think. Like he's he's almost worth as much as DeBansta in a lot of cases because, and here I'm going to explain why. So Saunders is the highest on-off of anyone, I think, on that team, and he's very high up in the country in terms of like BYU's plus minus with him on the floor, him off the floor. I think that the reason for that is DeBansta, though. So understand that. Like the reason that Saunders has the success he has is because of the attention that is paid to AJ DeBansta. So I'm not saying that Saunders is a better basketball player than DeBansta, but on this team, with the attention that is paid to AJ DeBansta, Saunders has been like almost the more productive player at times. I was at the BYU Kansas game, Rob Vino. That was, as I'm sitting right there watching, that was very apparent to me being in the building, watching that game up close. DeBansta so frustrated. Kansas came out and said, "You're not beating us. Okay. That's just it. You're not going to beat us." They were all over him. And it really took until the second half for BYU to get back into that game. But the reason they got back into that game is because Saunders just went nuclear from distance and he started hitting every shot. And suddenly they had, BYU was down over 20 in that game. And suddenly they're right back in it because of Richie Saunders. Arizona can do that to BYU. Arizona can take DeBansta out of the game and force someone else to beat them. But now you don't really have the someone else. And that is the problem that I think is maybe a bigger problem than even is being made by the total here. So I could not get there with the side. I feel like that number's pretty much spot on. I wouldn't be surprised. We've talked about this on the show a number of times, Rob. Like, just because the number is on doesn't mean Arizona's not covering it, right? Like teams can cover premium numbers. If you are going to pick a team to cover a premium number, Arizona's probably on like one of those like count on one hand teams that you would probably pick to do that. On the other side, I think I like the BYU team total because if they do take DeBansta out of this game, you're talking about needing like Rob Wright to go nuts. You're going to need a very inconsistent option, really outside of Wright. Everyone else has been very inconsistent for BYU from a scoring standpoint this year. You're going to need one of those guys probably just to hang in this game. If you don't get it, it could be good night down 30, and then BYU maybe scoring, maybe being lucky to break 70. So, yeah, I think I'm with you, Rob. I have a lean toward the full game under, though I think they did a better job of pricing it than I thought they would. And so maybe the way to go is the BYU team total under. Maybe there's more wiggle on the team total than the full game total here.
Yeah, it's, and I'll just clarify real quick for those watching and may question. When I talk about lack of depth, especially where BYU is concerned, and you got to the point here too, Adam, it's lack of quality depth. Like you just said, after Rob Wright, where's the legitimate scoring coming from? I mean, there could be a one-off on any night where somebody goes crazy, but where's the quality, consistent scorer, the third scorer now? Once DeBansta's targeted, which he's been all season long, like you say, that's why Saunders was able to get open looks. He buries open looks. It's hard because they just don't have another guy.
Well,
that I've seen. Somebody's going to have to step up, plain and simple. And at 76.5 for a team total, if in fact Arizona in this position of needing a win here or wanting a win, let's put it that way. They don't need a win, but they want to win. Takes DeBansta somewhat out of the game. It's problematic for this team. And I think it's going to be problematic down the road until they find another guy. Kevin Young, head coach here, you got to develop something because otherwise it's going to be quick exits, conference tournament, NCAA tournament. I wonder how the committee will view this team, Adam, if they falter down the stretch here really bad.
Some thought Dawson Baker would take a step forward this year. He got hurt early in the season. Kennard Davis has kind of been awful. He was someone that came over, averaged 16.3 points per game for Southern Illinois last year. He really hasn't shown the ability to play at this level. So, yeah, I think you have to start looking at BYU for what they are now. And because I think people will have a hard time doing that. Just the average bettor will have a hard time doing that for a couple games. This might be your window to make some money on that fading BYU from a production standpoint. Like I said, I don't know if I want to they may be able to clip this at the end and get within 12 or whatever it is, but I'd be surprised if they get up and over that team total. So I'm with you on that, Rob. Speaking of team totals and team total unders, I'm going to go to our guy, Brian Power, who came in yesterday, hit Arizona State first half. They end up winning the game. We cashed the 3-teamer for the show, which, Rob Bino, we are now ahead on the season. We are back. I mean, we've been battling that uphill battle for 5 or 6 weeks now, I think, with the parlays. And after last night, the 3-teamer has put us up 0.71 units on the season. So we are basically back to even, we'll call it. And so I've invited BP to join again. I'm pretty much going to invite him to join until he loses at this point. And we'll go 3-teamer and see if we can really run it up. Now, Brian Power has given me a game today, and he likes an under. And, I kind of discarded this game pretty quickly because I've been doing it all year with Loyola Chicago. And that's the game we're going to talk about right now, Loyola Chicago Fordham. I've said on this show a number of times that I've pretty much had to just throw Loyola Chicago out. I can't remember a team, Rob, that has been all for an entire season has been so far off of what the average expectation for the team was coming into the year. Not yes, there's always, you got 365 teams. There's always going to be teams that way outperform, way underperform. But this was a team consensus that was up near the top of the Atlantic 10. And they have been so far from that I just haven't even really tried to get involved with betting a side or total in their games, because the way my brain works, Rob, I'm always well, is there any sort of bounce back, run, figuring it out that happens with this team? So I've had no interest on playing their sides, but if I go to my projections here, and I'll kind of set this up for you. So Brian likes the team total under for Fordham in this game. From a basketball sense, I can't argue with him because I don't really care for either of these teams from an offensive standpoint. So he likes Fordham team total under 73.5. My projection for this game, of course, I've lost my spot because like you, Rob, I just live with papers all over the place.
They're everywhere.
I had this projected from Fordham on Fordham's side, 72.5 is what I project their total to be for this game. So even though that's not nearly a big enough sort of deviation to really bring it up, I guess it does lean toward Brian liking the team total under. Now, if you want to hear what Brian Power has to say about this game, go check out Morning Wager. He talks about it with Mark Zinno. He texted me this morning. He said, Trig, I really love my breakdown for this game. So make sure you go and check out the replay of Morning Wager on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. But I'll give you the floor here, Vino. Side total, Fordham, Loyola Chicago. Do you have anything in this one?
So he's at Fordham under team total?
He likes the Fordham team total under. And now I have to just double check my text because that's what he that's what he texted me. He said Fordham team total under 73.5 is his play.
I got you. Okay, so all right, so couple of things here. If you're just reading into line movements, the full game total has gone up. The price on Fordham as a favorite has gone down. That would speak somewhat to Loyola scoring a few more points than the original opener suggested. So if they score a few more, that means Fordham has to score a couple less. To that point, if you're just line reading here, you would say BP's probably on the right side. The one thing I would say about Fordham, in support of what Brian is giving us there as a total, is the fact that they are not an overly productive offensive team. I know Loyola's defense has been bad. You could combat me that way and say, Robert, that Loyola defense is so bad, but I don't think the pace is going to be anywhere near what's necessary here for a team like Fordham to get into the price range that's being asked of it in this case. So if you have a slower tempo, you have a team that's not overly productive offensively. Loyola in the half court maybe can force enough misses here. Fordham's not necessarily a team either, Adam, that's going to get to the line a bunch. And in an 8.5-point game, again, guys, for those of you who want to just line read or look in between the lines, an 8.5, 9-point number doesn't really suggest a lot of extension at the end of the game, right? So Fordham, if this game plays out, Fordham shouldn't be going to the line while Loyola tries to score and get back into the game and foul and score and foul and score. You shouldn't have a bunch of that in a game lined at 8.5, 9. Just general theory there. It doesn't mean it's going to work, but when you're trying to handicap these things, you look at it that way. So I guess there's a lot of reason to support it here for Brian. And I'll just end it with a simplistic comment of saying, who are we to argue with BP on anything right now? I mean, he's helping us dig ourselves out of our own hole. He's winning on a daily basis like the two of us are. So we're not going to argue. He's a teammate. He's in on this parlay. So I think there's reason to support Fordham team total under, though.
Yeah, I mean, he said that's right. Like he's having a really good month of February. I'm not trying to, like I said yesterday, I didn't really have like a huge opinion in the game he picked. I just kind of, it was actually he found a team that I didn't really fully trust my rating on, Texas Tech, and I'm glad I didn't step in front of that because my numbers lean Texas Tech and Arizona State came out and won the game outright. So what I will end this with is I mean, Fordham's not really a team that I think you'd really want to lay 9.5 with. I know Loyola Chicago has been atrocious this year, but that to me is like a pretty big number, even though my number comes out on it. Again, I think I'm at 9.3 and it's 9.5. I just haven't really trusted anything Loyola Chicago specific this year because and I guess my thought process is the one time I try to play them, they'll get crushed. If I try to fade them, they'll have like their one good game. So I'm just pretty much out on doing anything Loyola Chicago. But I this is a Loyola Chicago team that plays a tempo outside the top 250. I just want to see what Fordham is in that same metric. Like Fordham's 338. Fordham plays very, very slow.
No tempo.
So you got to think like both teams probably want to slow the game to a crawl. I almost think it benefits Loyola Chicago more to play Fordham style here. Because like if you're Loyola Chicago, you've got to almost look at this as like let's make sure there's as few possessions in this game as possible. Because something they do is turn the ball over. Like you want to take that possession. If you're Loyola Chicago, you want a chance to win this game. You want to take that possession number and get it as low as humanly possible to have a chance to win this game. So I think full game under and then BP's team total under make a lot of sense here as well. Starting the show off with 2 unders, Rob Vino. What an exciting day so far.
And like I say, Fordham doesn't get to the free throw line. They're 14th in free throw rate in that conference play. And Loyola, if you're Loyola, you have a better chance defending in the half court than you do in the open court. You have a better chance of defending a non-productive offensive team in the half court. So it all makes sense. Like I say, there's plenty of reasons to support BP here. So let's go, Brian. Fordham team total under
73.5 will be the first leg of our parlay. All right. Because I couldn't decide what the feature was going to be today, we'll almost just go with what would be 1A and 1B on this slate. Okay. And also, let's talk about a game there's probably going to be some points in for a change. That's going to be Arkansas, Alabama down in Tuscaloosa tonight. There's probably going to be unlimited points in this game, Rob Vino. But I don't know it's as easy as betting an over because the odds makers threw up something obnoxious here. I think you got to get to 90 for both of these teams to hit the total in this game. That being said, you won't find me on an under here. I'll tell you that much. It truly does look like a game that could hit 180 and beyond. So Alabama, Arkansas, down in Tuscaloosa, do you have any interest in trying to take that over, which is one of the highest ones I think I've seen non-IU Indy all season?
Yeah, and the odds makers have to do what they have to do, right? You just can't have people rushing up to the window, throw up a 172 or something, have people running up there and betting over and cashing their tickets. And for those of you who have watched this show since early November, I love my overs as much as anybody. But when I saw this number this morning, Adam, I was like you. I start doing the math in my head, and I'm like 93 to 92, really? There's so little wiggle room to get to that amount of points, 185 points. The interesting thing is it opened 181, and that didn't deter anybody. 181 straight up to 184. Like, hey, let's go. The lane is open. Every fast break is going to work. There's not a lot of handicap here. We all know by now who Arkansas and Alabama are. They're going to go back and forth. You do need shot making. The one good thing about a game like this is you're going to get the opportunities necessary to get to 185. The question is, do you get the field goal percentage, the 3-point percentage, the free throw percentage high enough to get yourself up and over? Do they make enough shots? You can always, in a game like this, I talked about game extension earlier. You can get game extension here. Could be very close in this one. Bama's taking some money, 3.5 all the way to 5. You even see a stray 5.5 out there. So certainly Alabama is a money favorite early on this morning. I don't know. It's an interesting game to me because we know Arkansas is better at Bud Walton, but I almost feel like Arkansas personnel wise is as good as Alabama. Alabama reacted pretty good the other day off of the Charles Bediako news. Didn't seem to hurt them at all that they didn't have them anymore. It just, what it does, Adam? I think it just makes them faster again. We're back to the Alabama of November and December, the way they were playing. It's the same team now. And I won't play the over. I got to tell you that. I can't get there at that price. I can't get to either team total here. If I had to take my choice of team totals, I don't know. It's difficult. I might say Arkansas just because I don't like Alabama defensively, but I don't like Arkansas as much on the road. So it's a game I'll pass. That's a lot of summary and analysis to say pass,
it's
but
good.
They put it in a tough place.
It's good summary and analysis because you kind of set up, I guess, the point I would make where if I was going to play it, it'd have to be Arkansas for a lot of the same, the number I feel like is slightly shaded toward Alabama. My number was right sort of in the mix here. I think I had Bama -5. So it was like, it wasn't quite the number I would have wanted to back Arkansas on the road in this game. I still think you have to acknowledge the home road splits for Arkansas. It's an annual thing. But you know what? Speaking of Brian Power, while he's the topic of our show, BP and I went to Arkansas, Michigan State, first week of the season, up in East Lansing. And we were walking out of that arena, and we looked at each other. I looked at him and I said, hey, Arkansas was the better of these two teams. Like the better team lost tonight. Maybe not the better team tonight because actually neither team played particularly well in that game. A lot of missed shots. Michigan State kind of squeaked it out. But it was like, the reason Arkansas lost that game and the reason they lost some of the early games is because, they have a couple of young guys, a freshman in Darius Acuff that's trying to sort of figure out how to play at the college level. And we both kind of said, this is a team down the road that we're going to want to be on, not against. And I'm actually kicking myself a little bit that I have not just been like beating the drum with Arkansas. Now, I did cash with Arkansas against Oklahoma for clients. And I think I think we talked about Arkansas LSU not that long ago, and it was like a 30-point Arkansas win. I don't remember if Arkansas I was in Cameron Indoor Arena on Saturday, so I cannot remember if we talked Arkansas Auburn on Saturday. But the point is, this team has now won 6 of 7. The one loss in that stretch was actually kind of not a bad loss, but they lost in Fayetteville to Kentucky. One that I think they'd like to have back. One that they were a 6.5, 7-point favorite in, probably feel like they should win. You go back to Acuff, and I think this dude might be a household name come NCAA tournament. we even talked about him relative to the other freshmen on another year where the people like Darren Peterson, AJ DeBansta, some of these other guys didn't exist. Acuff would be everyone's darling, right? Like, look at what this guy has done the last 6 games: 31, 21, 22, 24, 28, 31. Plays all 40 minutes most games, or very, very close to it. So, like, for me, like, I actually think if I'm looking at these two teams right now, I prefer Arkansas's trajectory over Alabama's. Even though, they worked around Bediako, whatever, last time it was against I feel like Bama got me last week. It was I had a big play on Ole Miss, and the Ole Miss just sucks. So whatever. That team's horrible. So I think I like the Razorbacks, and this is one that I will monitor throughout the day today. If suddenly there is a more playable number on Arkansas, this kind of might be my my Michigan from yesterday, where I never really got the number I wanted, so I didn't play it. I guess it's starting to pop, though. Couple places just moved to 5.5 here. That is very, very tempting. The Alabama money I thought would come is coming as we're doing the show, which seems to happen to us in this 10 to 11 a.m. hour. 5.5 minus 110 at DK, at MGM. That's a good Arkansas bet, in my opinion. That is a good point to buy in with the Razorbacks. I think this game is much closer than that. And I'm with you, Rob. If I had to pick a team total side, it would be Arkansas, not Alabama. I think you're getting a little bit more value there.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up something really quick, Adam, that you brought up yesterday where Miami of Florida was concerned that led you to Virginia Tech yesterday. And that's the inequality of the schedules in these huge conference leagues, right? For Arkansas, the one concern I would have with this side is they haven't played anybody good in league on the road. They've played good teams in this league. They haven't caught Florida yet, but they've had Vandy. They've had Tennessee. They've had Kentucky. But they got them all at home, and they beat them all. On the road, their list of road opponents reads like a who's who of the cellar in the SEC. So I guess if you were going to counter what we're saying, the praise we're giving Arkansas, you would counter by saying, yeah, but guys, guess what? Arkansas hasn't gone on the road and done it yet against anybody. Yep. So maybe Alabama and Coleman is the right side. But Alabama and Coleman, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same to me this year as it's felt in years past. Maybe that's just me. We'll see how it goes through the day. Like you say, it deserves monitoring all the way through. This price could get to a point. Maybe it is at the point where you just have to push back and say Arkansas is just as good as they are. And Darius Acuff, for those who haven't watched, forget about the statistics. Just watch this guy on the floor one time. His court vision is amazing. Like you say, Adam, he would be the darling without these other guys, DeBansta, Peterson, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and he seems to get better every game. Like he seems to just get better and better. Like, it's almost like he's played as good as he's played. He maybe hasn't even hit their ceiling yet. The final thing I'll say, because we're kind of doing a double feature here, the final thing I'll say in regards to this game, the way that these two attack and the way where these two teams maybe lack defensively, the game is set up for both of these teams to have offensive success. I think that's why you're seeing this total where it is. But I also think it may be difficult for one team to pull away from the other. And, 5.5 points, that's you're starting to get into the range where you have a good enough window to cash if you don't win the game. And so, again, it's that tricky window, Rob, where it might come down to some free throws. But I still think I'd rather have Arkansas with the points than Alabama trying to cover that number. Just from a, pick one or the other type scenario.
Right. So
good discussion on that game. That's going to be a really good one. That'll be on a screen for sure for me. Let's go to Mad Max. Mad Max, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. Good segue here because we'll be allowed to stay in the SEC. So kind of just flows right into, teams that have had to deal with both Arkansas and Alabama this year. This is going to be Auburn, Mississippi State. So I've Rob Vino, as I look for the this is the point of the show where Kelly in Vegas would be like, rotation numbers, please. But I found it. It's this one's down in Starkville tonight. I've made it known what I feel like about Mississippi State. I don't even know if you can really call it an upset of Ole Miss because they've just been horrifically bad as well. That was just one bad team had to win a game. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl, the basketball version of the Egg Bowl, maybe the worst one in recent memory because those two teams are so far down of what they were like supposed to be, but more so Mississippi State. They're just a bad basketball team, but they are at home here, short number. Auburn's starting to take money. I'm inclined to agree with that. But talk to Mad Max, Mississippi State, Auburn. What do you have for this one?
I can't agree more. And I'm just looking here. Okay, so where Auburn sits, it's about the time of year. It really has little to do with what we do as everyday bettors, Adam, and advisory services are concerned. But it is the time of year where you have to start looking at these net rankings because these teams are really concerned about getting into the NCAA tournament, what's on their resume, et cetera, et cetera. Auburn, despite the 4-game losing streak, is still has a net ranking of 32, which is good enough to get you in as an at-large. I couldn't agree more with Max on this one. Again, Mississippi State, I'll continue to use this phrase. I mean, I don't trademark it, but one-trick pony, so to speak. It didn't work out last night because the ponies were really good offensively. But Josh Hubbard is the entire offense for Mississippi State, and they probably put everything they had into that game against Ole Miss. It was one that was winnable. It was one that they could target, and this is one that Auburn can target. And Auburn just has so many more options offensively. Again, Max brought up a great point of the recent schedule. It's a 4-game losing streak, but it's a 4-game losing streak against the upper echelon, the elite of the conference, Tennessee, Bama, Vandy, and Arkansas. You can't fault them for that. They were in every single one of those games for the most part. I mean, the one at Bud Walton Saturday kind of got away from them. But we just discussed how good Arkansas is at this point in time, getting better, winners of 6 of the last 7. So to me, this price is low. You're probably getting a buy low situation because they're on the 4-game losing streak. I don't think there's any reasonable level of talent that's comparable between these two teams. I probably should have said that a better way and said that there's a separation of talent, a gap of talent here, personnel-wise, that's more significant than 4.5 points, in my estimation. Like you just said, the numbers on the rise. I'm trying to stare at the number and speak as I'm going through this. It looks like it's up to 5 here. It could get higher. You can still get 4.5. So I would not be opposed to laying 4.5 with Auburn. And while I'm on it, really quick, the team total for the Auburn Tigers tonight is 78.5. And Mississippi State gives up 80 like it's their religion to do so. I mean, you can get to 80 against this team fairly easily. So I would think Auburn minus the points. If you want to look at it a different way, I would think this team total over 78.5 is good. They're probably going to get to 80. I think that was a good comment there, Max, and Auburn is certainly worth a look.
Yeah, so it looks like Keyshawn Hall will be back. He was benched in Auburn's most recent game. I believe that was a discipline thing. It had nothing to do with injury. He is their leading scorer. So it looks like all things are a go for Keyshawn Hall. That matters big time for Auburn, right? Like you don't really even I know I've sort of like, talked down about Mississippi State all year, and they deserve that. This is not a good basketball team. But like Auburn has their own issues. They're 2-5 on the road this year. They're not exactly a team that I'm dying to lay points with on the road without their best scorer. So to know that their best scorer is back is important. The other thing about Mississippi State, outside of like Hubbard, this team's just bad. It's a bad basketball team. They've been bad all year. Go back to November, December. They were in dogfights with teams like New Orleans, right? Like I think they lost to Kansas State. There's another bad loss that they had earlier in the set. Like, there's just a lot of bad losses, and now, yeah, they pick up a win over the weekend. But that's a scenario where, again, I'll go back to the beginning of the handicap. One of those two teams had to win. Like, I just don't think that that's going to be like something that Mississippi State builds off of. Like, it's a nice win. It's nice to get a win. Somehow they've managed 4 of them in conference play. That's a mystery to me. I think they've already maxed out on their conference wins for the season. And then reading Max's original message, yes, I very much agree with what he's saying. Letdown spot for Mississippi State, and then just combine the letdown spot with the fact Mississippi State is not any good. And you should be you should get to finding some way to play Auburn pretty easily here. This number's moved a little bit, but I do not fault anyone that tries to find a way in on Auburn in this game. That absolutely seems like the right move.
You want to talk about gauntlets, Adam? The last 6 games for Auburn, they actually went to Florida and won. That was a head scratcher, right? The day they won at Orlando at the O. Then they played Texas. So Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. Their schedule eases up significantly down the stretch here. The only team they'll play in the upper echelon of the league on the way in the next 5 is going to be Kentucky. So they could make some hay and get back into things here a little bit. But I think we see, like you were telling me yesterday, with the Miami schedule in the ACC, some of these teams just get put through the rigor and then have to find their way out of it. And for Auburn, I guess Stephen Pearl and company are like, thank God we get somebody like Mississippi State tonight. Let's go get a win.
Yeah. No, I think that's again, Auburn's probably going to win that game, and it's in the territory now where maybe you're just finding another favorite to pair it with if you can in game. Maybe do the first half, second half deal where it's like you play a little first half. If they don't get there, come over the top bigger in the second half. There are creative ways to get on Auburn, and I'd be surprised if they don't win that one. All right, here's Garth is here today. Appreciate you. Our daily game of the day from Garth. We appreciate the donation. And Garth's going to the Patriot League, where we've actually been really good on this show. We talked Patriot League on Monday, Rob. In your absence, Brian Power and I kind of made a case for Boston University. They ended up blowing out Colgate. I've given out multiple client plays in the Patriot League that were winners on this show. On Saturday, On Saturday, I had a client play loser in the Patriot League on Colgate in a game that they lost in overtime, and they probably win if they can hit their foul shots in the final couple minutes of the game. Here, this is an interesting one because these two teams are similar in the respect that neither are even remotely close to what they were last year, in my opinion. So what we have is American and Bucknell. Now, it does not surprise me one bit that both are sort of middling teams this year, because last year, these were arguably the two best teams in this league, right? Like Colgate wasn't quite as good last year as they were this year. Navy was on the rise, but they weren't quite there yet. So really last year, the two top teams in this league was Bucknell with Noah Williamson and American with two-time Patriot League Player of the Year, Matt Rogers, and a bunch of seniors. Noah Williamson is somewhere on that Alabama bench now. That's kind of surprising to me that he left Bucknell, where he was like clearly the best. He must be getting, maybe he's making a few bucks, but he's obviously a generational talent when it comes to Patriot League basketball. Insane rim defender, just an all around, like, made that Bucknell team last year so much better than they would have been without him. And then, of course, American is just sort of in a rebuild, Rob, where they lose like 3 seniors that were with the program for 4 years. It was, they made the NCAA tournament last year, sort of like the culmination of this great run for Rogers and some of those seniors. So they're kind of back into rebuild mode. So here you have American hitting the road, going to Bucknell. Bucknell's lost a couple in a row, but I still think Bucknell's the slightly better of these two teams, because I think the rating on Bucknell at the beginning of the year was way flawed because, of course, the market had not reacted yet to them just not being the team that won this league last year. Remember, Bucknell won the regular season, got upset in the, I believe Navy upset them in the conference tournament last year. They were Bucknell ran like roughshod through this league last season. So now this is like almost like they're sitting down there at 5-9. I don't really think they're worse than American. And so you talk about a game where you're getting, I believe this is maybe a 3-point spread. I don't know if this one's moved yet. Rob, do you have the screen there on American Bucknell real quick?
I do. I have American minus 2.5 solid all the way across the board.
Yeah. See, Here's the thing. Like, I think American probably takes some money throughout the day. I wouldn't be surprised if this got to 3 or 3.5. Reason being, I think American is perceived to be the better of these two teams. But when where my like ratings are, I just don't think either team is great. Like, honestly, both of these teams for me in Patriot League play, Rob Bino, have been fades this year. Try to fade both of them. But I just think because the market is more out on Bucknell after the 3 straight losses, that I'd be more inclined to play Bucknell here. They beat American down in DC earlier this year, 60-59. Listen, Bender Arena, Washington, DC, arguably the biggest home court edge in this league. So now you get American coming to your place. You know, just to go back, and then I'll let you chime in here. Sorry, I keep just like I keep thinking I'm going to hand it over to you, and then I see something else I want to say. So people are probably like, "Come on, let's pick it up." So the board is moving as we're talking. I'm convinced they watched the show, Rob. We're at 3.5 a lot of places now. 3.5s popping up on this game, which is good because I would fade that. I go Bucknell plus 3.5. Bucknell's 3-game losing streak: Colgate, Navy, and then at Boston U. Colgate, Navy, by far the two best teams in this league. We talked about Boston U kind of being on the uptick the last few times Boston U has come up on this show. So, Garth, if you like American minus 2.5, I hope you got 2.5. Because me personally, I think I'd play back at that at the current. If it gets to 3.5, I'd play back. But I will say, not a super strong opinion for me. Just the way I would go in this game for Garth. What do you have in this one, American Bucknell?
I think the reason, and whenever I see movement in the number, I have to look right away. And last game for Bucknell, Pat Curtin didn't play. Probably a reason why you get movement towards American here. First meeting, 60-59, 59 possession game. Bucknell actually played it American style and won American style. They'd probably prefer to play it a little bit quicker than that. Maybe they can do so this time around at home, but without Curtin, who had 12 in that game, one of their leading guys as far as scoring is concerned. I would say that's probably the reason for the line movement here, probably the reason for the push towards American, because we know that the market does love their injury betting. And I guess my question to you, without being completely familiar with Curtin's importance to the team, other than statistically, not knowing as far as, offensive sets and whatnot, is it a big of a deal for Bucknell where you should be playing American here?
So the guy that's going to get those minutes is likely Pachuki is his last name. He's a transfer from Fordham. Didn't get a ton of minutes at Fordham as a freshman. He's been more of a rotational piece for Bucknell this year, probably 18 to 20 minutes a game. He didn't play terrible in extended minutes over the weekend against Boston U, so it was, I believe, a season high, 32 minutes. Hit 50% of his attempts from the field, 12 points. Like, he didn't play terrible. So the market's probably right. Curtin's probably worth a point. I don't think he's worth more than a point. I would say he's probably worth 1 point. So, I don't think it's like a crazy injury where you've got to like go nuts trying to bet it because he's out.
Yeah, because sometimes these pieces can be interchangeable, Adam. A guy's just waiting for his step up time. Like we talked about Saunders before, that's not an interchangeable piece. This, Pat Curtin could very well, off of the performance Saturday by his replacement, could be a situation where, just a guy looking to get those minutes and perform. So we'll see how that one goes. I did look at the total real quick here for those who would be interested in the total here. I know Garth asked the question, 141 down to 139.5. Certainly, I think injury keys that move downward. 60-59 first time, 119. Again, played to Americans' preferred pace. Bucknell at home this time. Can they pick it up a little bit? Again, it Curtin's 12 points the first time around. You have to take that into consideration. 139.5, I think the total heading downward is probably correct. It's interesting to me that at the beginning of the year, the phenomena that was American U overs, 9-1 out of the gate, first 10. I can remember playing a couple of American U overs, not really even understanding why. just blindly playing American U overs because they were going over all the time, much in the way that Denver was going over. And since then, 11-4 to the under, right back to what American does best: methodical pace, slow it down, play some defense. There is a defensive disparity between these two as far as analytics are concerned. So I would probably think that under 139.5 is a proper play here.
All right. So my question to you is, have we talked about your parlay leg yet or not? Do you know what it is? Is it a game we've talked about or not? Because it'll determine what game I go to right here.
It's not a game that we've talked about yet. No.
Okay. So would you like to talk about said game and lock in your parlay leg?
I'll go first. Okay. I'm going to play Temple tonight at pick against UAB.
Okay. I agree.
Andy Kennedy is another guy. He didn't get the national attention, but he kind of went ballistic the other day. We've had fun this year, Adam, with these coaches. It seems like a never-ending thing in these post-game pressers, but, Andy Kennedy referred to college basketball now as bizarro land. 22 layups, missed 10. I watched the game the other day, start to finish. A lot of dismay on my part, because UAB couldn't put the ball in the hole, but UAB couldn't put the ball in the basket because they're missing three key guys here. It was bad enough coming into the game that Jacob Meyer wasn't going to play in this game. But now Jacob Meyer didn't play, Ahmad Richardson didn't play, and then within the first minute of the game, Karan Lindsey Martin went down with a shoulder injury. And it was bad for Alabama Birmingham in that game. Don't get mad at me for not saying UAB. I'll continue to say Alabama Birmingham. But they couldn't shoot threes. At the end of the game, Adam, they were trying to force overtime. They got 5 second chances at the last shot, and every single three, one was worse than the other. Brick, air ball, brick. They just don't have anybody on this team that can shoot the basketball right now. They're limited depth-wise. They've got really 3 legit starters, and then, it could be as short as it could probably be an 8-man rotation, but 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be guys who honestly wouldn't see a lot of minutes in a regular game. So they're without 3-point shooting. Temple happens to be the second best 3-point defense inside this league in conference play this year. Alabama Birmingham likes to go fast. Temple wants to go slow. Their pace, their home preferred tempo probably disrupts UAB a little bit. And I don't even know that UAB wants to go fast without the players that they don't have now. That game against Tulane the other day was 55-53. And I get that Ron Hunter throws kind of a junk defense at people, matchup zone, etc. But Temple's been pretty good on the defensive side in some areas as well. And Temple's just got the better scores. 4 double-digit scorers here on the Temple side. At home, I saw Pick'em. I can understand that the injury situation is probably built into this line already, but still, I don't know that UAB has the manpower to go on the road and beat Temple, who almost had North Texas. They had North Texas by 12 the other day with about 9 or 10 left and wound up losing to North Texas because North Texas was able to D up as only they can. Alabama Birmingham can't D up the way that North Texas can. So for me, it's going to be a home play. Guys, I know it's been a lot of team totals, mostly team totals, 95% team totals all season long with the parlay pick. But today, after watching UAB on Sunday afternoon, and now knowing they're going on the road with this same bunch and these key injuries, I have to play Temple here at Pick'em at home tonight. So that'll be my leg of the parlay, Temple at pick.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. UAB, to me, has sort of trended in the wrong direction. Like they managed to get that win at Tulsa with they were missing 2 guys. I don't even think Andy Kennedy made the trip. It was like a shocking result. Like the fact that they were to go in to Tulsa and win as a double-digit favorite without a coach and 2 of their starters was kind of a crazy result, in my opinion, that goes a little unnoticed. Because I think you look back, oh yeah, they beat Tulsa. These 2 teams are no, that thing steamed to the point where Tulsa was like an 11-point favorite in that game. And so UAB did it was almost like the star player theory, Rob, right? Like they just banded together.
Right.
and got that win, got that result on the road. What do? They turn around last time out, lose at home to Tulane. If I had to pick what's more likely to happen in this game based off those two games, it's probably the latter because, like the further you get away from that, like first game that you're down a coach, it was just a real band together moment. And Tulsa played horrible. Tulsa did not play a good basketball game in that game. Now you're talking about having to go to Philly midweek, not the easiest trip for UAB. Temple, I've talked about on social media that they haven't had a great like fan base, and they've sort of lost their fan base over the years. Remember, of course, Rob, I know being somewhat from the area, you obviously remember Temple basketball as Elite Eight after Elite Eight, John Chaney, great crowd. So it's not that these days, but they've sort of quietly been respectable, like maybe even more than I like gave them credit for this year. This team's essentially in a four-way tie for second in this league right now. And I'll throw one more thing out there. Gavin Griffiths was hurt. And since he's been back, he's kind of struggled to get back into the flow of the game. I know he went 1 for 10 from the field against North Texas. But encouraging that he played 36 minutes and grabbed 9 rebounds. And I just got to think he's got a good game. Like, you look at like what he's done since he's been back, very underwhelming. This is a guy that should be giving you double figures on a team like this and in a league like this. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to typically impact the game for the better. So I will go. This is what I'll say. I agree with you on Temple. I think Gavin Griffiths has a good game, and I think you're going to be on the right side here, Rob. So I'll co-sign the Owls with you at the Liacouras Center tonight. Yeah. Probably right, an hour from where you live? Not quite.
Yeah, less, probably 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, Liacouras Center. And real quick here with Lindsey Martin now added to that injury list with his shoulder injury. And Andy Kennedy said he's our inside guy. He's the guy who makes layups for us. So it's a walking mash unit for UAB right now. We'll see how it plays out in Philly tonight.
Yeah, and Joe, no, that is a rare Rob Vino side. A rare Rob Vino side on Temple pick right here. So you know what, Rob? I'm gonna go with a rare Adam Trigger team total. That is what I'm going to do. Just because you came in and gave out a side today, which you never do. I'm gonna give out a team total, which I never do. I'm gonna go back to our feature game. I think BYU is staying under their team total. I loved our discussion on that game. The more I think about it, the more I like. If you missed the breakdown, obviously the show is live. It's on demand. WagerTalk YouTube channel. That was our feature game today, Arizona BYU. I loved the discussion on that team total under. And so, Rob, what is that team total under right now? BYU Arizona, or BYU team total.
We had 76.5 earlier. Right now we have 75.5. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to say 76, and I'm going to make it with some juice attached. Okay. So basically on most of these sites, you should be able to, like pretty much any legals, they're going to let you alt the juice. So I will go ahead and say BYU team total under 76. I'll attach minus 125 juice, which actually means you might be able to move that to under 76.5 for that price. But I know it's weird. It's going to vary site to site. So what we will do, and again, I'll make sure that the VIG is calculated properly. If we win, if we lose, it's not going to matter. Obviously, it'll just be 1. We have my team total, BYU team total under 76. We have Brian Power, who's going Fordham, team total under 73.5. And in an uncharacteristic move, Rob Vino is going to be the only side in the parlay today with Temple pick. And so Temple money line if it happens to move throughout the day. So the only play I've locked in personally is a 5% play. I'm going to run it back. I probably will add if I can find something else. But like yesterday for me, Rob, I kind of just loved one game. And it's like I never ended up adding yesterday. And I got it done with my one pick. So as of right now, I've got one play locked in, 5% play. It's up on the website. You can get it on its own. But why would you not just grab the Double the Firepower CBB package, get all of my plays, all of Rob's plays for a cost that, 5% or almost pays for it. I mean, pretty much where the price point is. So check that out. It's on both of our pages. One more time as we sign off here in the final 10 seconds. Brian Power, Fordham team total under 73.5. You can see his breakdown on the morning wager. Rob, Temple pick, a rare side play. Trig, team total, BYU team total under 76, a rare team total for me. We'll see you back here in the morning for the mid-majors, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys tomorrow.